Hello, everybody. My name is Jorge Castillo, Dodgers beat reporter for the LA Times. I'm here, accompanied thousands of miles away at Dodger Stadium, the masked Dylan Hernandez. What's up, Dylan?
Hey, the Astros are warming up right now. For the bad guys are backing down. They seem to be relishing in their role as villains. Josh
Yeah, I'm
Reddick the other day almost was taunting Dodger fans basically. So, be interesting here.
I'm here in Arlington, Texas for the Dodgers Padres series. Begins Tuesday night here in at Globe Life Field, the neutral site for the series, and it's going to be home of the National Leagues, the NLCS, and the World Series. There's a chance the Dodgers will be here for about 3 weeks if things go well for them, right? So I know you're at Dodger Stadium for another game, Dylan, A's Athletics, but what do you got to say about this Padres Dodgers series, game one here on Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the previous round we were very positive going into it. So why don't we talk about some of the bad stuff that's going on right now? I think Jack Harris, our colleague, had a good story in the paper today about Globe Life Park and how it might play. He talked about how there weren't many home runs hit there this year, but he did point out the fact that the roof was rarely open, right? And if they open up the roof, conditions could be completely different. Jorge, you went to Yale. Do you think the ball will travel better?
I did not do physics, man. That's why I'm here right now. I think the Dodgers played there. Guys complained about how big it was. Max Muncy was on television saying it was so big, and the ball, balls that they thought were going out did not go out. But it goes both ways, man. The Padres hit the fourth most home runs in baseball. These guys, these teams, if the ball's not going out, that's not going over the wall. You got to figure out a way to manufacture runs. And so the Dodgers credit, game two especially, they figured out a way. They pounced on the Brewers in that one inning. They didn't hit a home run that night, and they won. They need to figure out ways. If they're going to win the World Series, you need to figure out ways to score runs without hitting home runs. We saw it last year when they lost to the Nationals in 5 games. You can't strike out as much as they did, and you got to produce runs. So maybe they can figure it out here in the next couple of days. One way, it'll be a lot easier if Mike Clevenger and Dinelson Lamet don't pitch for the Padres, and they're still, as of right now, we're taping this Monday at 11:13 Pacific, 1:13 Central. We don't know if Mike Clevenger and Dinelson Lamet are going to pitch in this series for the Padres. Now, Lamet's pitched really well against the Dodgers this year. Clevenger has not faced the Dodgers this year. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on over here in the next 24 hours or so.
Yeah, what's kind of interesting, right, is that these teams are pretty evenly matched, and you can't really point to the regular season, I think, as a real gauge of how good these teams are, or even some of these players, right? I mean, I'm looking at Kershaw's pitching log right now for the regular season. He didn't beat a team with a winning record all year. He still hasn't, right? Including the Brewers last round. So I mean, yes, the velocity's up. That's a fact, right? But it's kind of hard to tell. And so when you kind of look at this, right, and I think one of the big areas of concern right now, one of the big things we're talking about is the bullpen, right? Dave Roberts coming out this week basically saying Kenley Jansen is technically our closer, but he's really not. And now this bullpen again, they've had, they've stacked up a lot of wins against the Diamondbacks and the Giants and the Mariners, the Angels. How good is this bullpen really? And this lineup is going to kind of test them out.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And the Padres, like I said, we talked about their front two guys in Lamet and Clevenger, them being hurt. And the Dodgers have a question mark going into game one. Is Walker Buehler, what's up with the blister? In that first series against the Brewers, he pitched 4 innings. In that series, they got away with it. It's a 3-game series. The Brewers offensively were just bad. They were just maybe the worst offensive team ever to play in the postseason. This Padres team is not as forgiving. They got Tatis Jr., they got Machado, they got Grisham, they got Hosmer, they got Myers. This is a very deep, loaded lineup. And if this guy if Buehler can only go 3-4 innings in game one, you need that big start, that long start from Clayton Kershaw, or all of a sudden your bullpen's going to be in trouble when you're playing, all these games in a row. There are no off days this series. The bullpen will be taxed. Granted, the Dodgers do expect. I expect the Dodgers to add a reliever or two to the roster, but making sure these guys can go as long as possible when there are no off days. Maybe the Dodgers beat them in 3 games and we go 4 games and it won't be that big of a deal. But this goes to a fifth game and your bullpen's taxed. Things change quite a bit.
Yeah, it's really an opportunity for a Tony Gonsolin or Dustin May or Julio Urias to leave their mark in October, right? I mean, you get a 6 or 7 inning start from any of those guys, I think it kind of goes like a long way. And it's not just that they want to get that; they almost need it, right? Because of like the reasons you say, and the same deal goes with the Padres too. In the last game, right, they used 9 different pitchers to pitch a shutout. They basically right. They kind of did the Dodgers formula of Frankenstein bullpen, whatever, and they're not going to be able to do that in this series. So, given that the ballpark might play differently this time and the lineups involved and the questions on pitching, my guess is we're going to see a lot of 13-12, 10-9 type games with a lot of late comebacks and you and I pulling our hair out on a deadline.
Yeah, and just lastly, beyond the rosters and the actual game itself, it's these teams play 10 games during regular season. The Dodgers won 6, the Padres won 4. The Padres the entire time were trying to prove to them, hey, we belong, we can beat you guys, we can compete with you guys. The Padres, to me, are the biggest test for the Dodgers before the World Series. You can argue that Atlanta Braves offense is, it's a great offense, but pitching-wise, I don't know if they're quite there. And this team, there's some animosity between the Padres and Dodgers. We saw that in that last series they played when Grisham hit that home run and he, flipped the bat and looked into the Padres dugout. And then Dave Roberts said something when he was crossing home plate, and Grisham said something back. And we've had a couple little instances, where emotions have flared up a little bit between the two teams, and I think that's exciting. I think baseball needs some of that. The Dodgers and Padres teams that have played each other don't seem to love each other too much. I think it's cool that they're meeting in the playoffs. I think it's a problem that they're meeting in the DS because this playoff format is strange and terrible, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and I think if you're the Dodgers, you got to be a little concerned that Tatis just kind of woke up in the middle of that last series, right? He didn't end the regular season on a particularly good run there. And probably between Tatis and Machado, you have probably the 2 most explosive players on, in terms of just kind of the power. They can change the game with one swing. Betts, obviously the kind of guy that kind of consistently will find different ways to beat you. I think Turner, Seager are kind of more steady type guys. So I think you're kind of looking at the kind of explosiveness of the Padres against kind of the steady kind of production of guys like, Betts, Seager, and Turner.
Yeah, I think that ultimately a lot of this comes down to, we talked about it as we wrap this up here, the starting pitching. Does Lamet go? Does Clevenger go? How long can Buehler go? At what point do the Dodgers have to deploy a Julio Urias, or Dustin May, a Tony Gonsolin? Will they have to go to them earlier because the bullpen's in trouble? In game 1 or game 2, we'll see. It's going to be super interesting. I think this is going to be an exciting series. Probably the best. The Yankees and the Rays, another one that has a lot of emotions right now in the playoffs. Those teams hate each other, but the Padres and Dodgers should be a good one as well. Are you into?
You have a pick?
What's that?
You have a pick?
No, I have a pick. I think I'll go with Dodgers, and I'll go Dodgers in 5.
Yeah, that's what I was actually thinking, Dodgers in 5. I think that, as excited as we are about this, I kind of think, we saw that too, right after that game where Grisham hit the home run. Kind of the big brother said, okay, stand down, buddy, and kind of put the Padres back in their place. And my guess is we'll see something similar this week.
Yeah, we'll see. If Lamet and Clevenger don't pitch, it might be Dodgers in 3 or 4, but we'll see. We'll see what happens there. Dylan, stay safe. Enjoy watching the Astros at Dodger Stadium. I'm sure we'll probably have a good time.
Yeah, dude, I'm already sweating, man. It's burning up here. This is the early games. This is terrible.
Yeah, the funny thing is that I came out here to Arlington to cool down. It's beautiful out here today.
Well, I'm happy for you. Enjoy some Papados.
And then I'll be inside at beautiful Globe Life Field where it's nice and climate controlled. All right, Dylan, man, appreciate you. We'll talk soon. For Dylan Hernandez, I'm Jorge Castillo. Thanks, guys.